Bam.
Hello! Hello, world. We are here with you tonight with Tangela and Karina, and we are back at again with Sisters of Legacy. Hold tight. We're going to do our intro and we'll be right back. Oh, there we go. It was a little delay there at the end. It was still sitting. Listen, I'm a master this. I'm gonna get used to this. It's only week number 2. I'm working on it. So everybody be patient with me. So, ladies, how has your week been so far?
It's been
Same old.
God is good.
All right, I know work, and kids some more. That is the
Yeah.
story of our lives for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, our topic for tonight, like I sent you guys, was more or less, I guess, a question, kind of like a rhetorical one, but kind of one that hopefully will get people to thinking. So the question that I want to pose tonight is, are women protected in today's society? We look at all the events and happenings and everything that's going on, and it makes me think, like, are women being protected? Are women being valued? Are women, being held up? So I kind of wanted to get you guys take on it and see what you thought. So Tangela, I'm gonna give you the floor first to jump right on in there.
Okay, so I think this is a very good topic, but I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I look at the question, are women being protected in today's society? Some are, and some are not. And there's a certain demographic of women that may experience more protection than others. Um, Unfortunately, Black women are not as protected in today's society. And I think um, from society and also even within relationships as well. So there's a lot of different factors that come into play. And I think the very first one that comes to our mind, that's a trending topic now, is what's going on in Louisville, Kentucky with the Brianna case. And I thought it was disheartening to see how they've already kind of prepared for barricades for the grand jury's decision on if they're even going to try or even to even charge the police officers with murder. So unfortunately, and um, maybe I'm being pessimistic, but it doesn't feel like her life is going to be protected. It doesn't feel like her life is going to be valued. And I think it's just a story that we see repeated in history so many times, and so many Black women have some of the similar stories of being expected to give your all and not have that same respect given back.
Right. I'll definitely agree with you there. Whole certain women. I mean, because I'm a Black woman, I could just speak from that standpoint. Now, naturally, this does not necessarily apply to me personally. I have brothers, I have uncles, I have men in my life that will stand up and, stand up for me and protect me in those things. But I think, when I look as far as being my sister's keeper, when I look at, other women in society, I would have to say I don't feel like we're, as Black women, are protected. I feel like we're disrespected and put down a lot of times, unfortunately, by men that look like us. Like, um, unfortunately, and I think it's even more hurtful for that to happen. I look like you look like me. You should be a safe space for me. And even though it may not be me personally, some of the things that have happened to other women and that are constantly happening is very disheartening. When you click on Facebook or you click on Instagram, and I see videos where women are being beaten and there are men standing around videotaping, where women are being disrespected or called out their name, and there are men standing around videotaping or taking part in it. And like looking, I'm in my 40s now, but I think back to when I was in my 20s, and I'm trying to think, were things as bad then, or have things gotten worse over time? Trina, what do you think? Do you think things have gotten worse, or have they always been this bad?
Um, well, I think when I first when I first read the question, I think my first question was protected by who? And I think you kind of hit on that. As far as within our community, it should be um, our men who are protecting us.
Right,
So then I asked, well, why is this the case?
right,
Um, why aren't we protected? Like, what is the issue? Um, what I saw when I saw a quote about the death of Justice Ruth uh, Bader Ginsburg, and what she the quote was that women should be anywhere decisions are being made.
right,
And so I started reading the comments, and I was so taken aback by the lash out from men who were just making comments like, um, well, if you guys wanted equality, then you should work the jobs we work, the heavy lifting. You guys should do the heavy lifting. You guys should stay on the sinking boat and let the men and children be rescued. I'm saying, wait a minute, what kind of backwards thinking is happening that there's this backlash from just saying we want to be a part of the decision making that affects us and
right,
affects everybody. And so I'm like I just don't understand the thinking that gets us to a place where, okay, we want to participate, but because of that, then we can't be protected. We can't
right,
be in a different, you know what I'm saying? We can't be in a role where we're protected by men because we want to make decisions with men. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Um, so then where does it all come from? Where does the men protecting us come from? It should be right that because men are the stronger vessel physically,
right,
that's where it should come from. But also at the same time, if you're not good at something, then you should let the person that's better at it do it, right? So even if I'm stronger than you physically, then I should, right? I don't know. I'm just trying to think it all through. I'm trying to think it all through. Like,
Right.
I'm trying to think, where is it coming from, the
Right.
backlash? That, okay, so you want to step back and not protect because what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just really trying to figure out, where is it coming from? Is
Right.
it that if we want to step forward and be leaders, or we want to step forward and be, um, lead our household, and sometimes we are leading our household because we have no other choice.
Right.
So because I'm in a leadership position now, I can't be protected by you. Like, I don't know. I'm just throwing out my thoughts.
Right.
And it
Nah.
kind of feels like Black women specifically have to juggle the emotions for everybody else. We have to make sure we're strong, but not too strong.
Right.
Make sure that, we're competent, but we can't make you feel incompetent. So but no other demographic has that responsibility.
Right.
Everyone else is encouraged to be and do the best, but it feels like sometimes we have to play down, even in, some relationships that, I've observed where the woman may have different skills and talents, but because of the insecurity of her partner,
Right.
she has to play that down. Don't say that too loud, or
Right.
don't give too much credit, because that may cause a rift, in that situation.
Right. So Ashley's question um is, do you think we should stop supporting or going to the defense of men? Um well, I mean, going to the defense in what kind of way? I mean, I think, the reality is, I feel like for the most part, women, and somebody said yes, I feel like for the most part, women, we're made a certain way. We're made to be nurturers and, and protectors in a lot of ways, even of our children. And sometimes I think those things spill over, into our male counterparts. So, I mean, should you change who you are because they're lacking somewhere? No, I don't think so. I mean, but at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of hard. Like, I wouldn't say stop supporting men, because they are our counterparts. They are a part of us just as much as we are a part of them. I think we just have to try to figure out where the disconnect comes in. It says, please don't stop. We'd be lost without the support of our Black women. Absolutely. Like, I think it's important, that we remain who we are,
Mm-hmm.
in that sense of, being supportive and not trying to become something that we aren't. But I think we also need to, right, it's not all men. I
Right.
think we also too, though, maybe have to try to bridge the gap with some conversation. Maybe asking,
Mhm.
what happened? Where did we become, it's like it's almost we've become their enemy as well. We on the other side, like their opposition in some sense. And I think maybe, we need to bridge the gap with conversation, have conversations, not just with each other, but also, with the men. You brought up that quote, and that was one of the things that I had in my phone to bring up. The quote from the Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I had that quote, and then also, so I went back and I was thinking back to my school days, Tupac, whatever. And you remember the song, the Keep Your Head Up song? I know everybody's heard that at least once by Tupac, Keep Your Head Up.
Mhm.
Right. So I was in one of the lyrics, he was saying, men, why do we hate the ladies that make the babies? And then he was saying, if we're not careful, we'll raise a generation, that'll hate women, because we don't care for our women. And I think back to, like, that was the 90s. And, some of the things he was saying, are real relevant even now all these years later, but we're not meant to be men's cheerleaders. I don't think cheerleaders was the word that I used. I think, like I said, women, we are naturally nurturers, by design. Um, so like I said, we kind of, that tends to spill over into our male counterparts. I'm not sure what the cheerleader thing would. I'm not sure what your comment kind of means. You'd have to elaborate on that one, Ashley, because I'm not sure. I'm not saying that our design, like we just made up to just raw men or whatever. I'm saying, as who we are, we're connected. You know, we're connected one way or another. We're all connected, even if it's by nothing more than the color of our skin. We are connected. So, you wanted to say something, Trina?
Yeah, I mean, and I think what you said about having a conversation is so important because there's this narrative that, like you said, we're on social media, and there's this narrative from a lot of women about that's a lot of male bashing.
Right.
And I hear a lot of women, men are trash, this, that, and the third. And, you know, and I know it goes both ways, but we're talking about this right now. It goes
Right.
both ways. I know that. But we're talking about this right now. So if that's what you're saying all the time, and if that's what both of us are seeing all the time, then there's offense.
Right.
And it's, we're seeing it. There's offense within us. And so, and then it's like when you go to, it's like a lot of times we will go ahead, even with that offense, and go ahead and support, but maybe that's what they're dealing with, that offense, and that conversation needs to be had. um I don't know, it's because we need to find out where it's coming from.
Right.
We need to find out, the divide. I think it was already said, that divide about, us not being able to come together and support each other.
I think that's a good point, Trina, that you mentioned. The conversations, plural,
Right.
with each other, with ourselves, and really being honest about where we find ourselves
Right.
and how did we get in those positions. I think women naturally, we go hard, for, if it's our the people that we love, period. And I think when we don't get that in return, that's when it starts to make us bitter and angry, when we don't feel that in return. But I question, what are the motives? And we have to be careful about putting out in hopes of getting some sort of validation, affirmation, or something that the people who we may be lending the support to may not be capable of returning
Mhm.
to us. So when I think about the protection, I think that the first thing I kind of think back to is the father-daughter relationship. And I was blessed to have a good father. And my father, is still with us, and still a very active part, in my life and my kids' life. So there's that presence there. And I always joke to say, my dad was never, lovey-dovey, come give me a hug. But I knew that if something were to go down, my daddy would be the first one, no questions asked. We gonna get some straightening about his kids. And that set the bar for me. So when I entered dating age, and even when I got married, I didn't accept anything less. This is what I'm expecting. And I shared that even with my husband before, we had our kids. I'm expecting protection, not perfection, but I just need you to make sure and we cover each other. So to answer the sister's question, I will always be the black man's cheerleader. I will always continue to do that. I will be okay. Can we block him? But I will always continue to be their cheerleader because they, they do need, the support. But everybody won't get the same level or the
Right.
same type.
I think when like it's just when I hear like cheerleaders, as I think, in my mind, I kind of think of it as like you just cheer them on no matter what they do. Because when you're a cheerleader, right? When you're a cheerleader, and you cheer for a team, it don't matter if the team is -30, you still out there cheering and cheering and cheering. So I think when I hear the term cheerleader, I'm always going to do what I can to support or whatever. But also when you lacking, sometimes you got to get that tap. Like, sweetie, like I'm in your corner, but I need you to pull up this area a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. I think we have to be honest with each other, and sometimes maybe they don't always understand what we need. I think so much communication has ceased amongst people, with if it's just, on social media, you liking it or happy birthday and, real conversation is not as fluent as it used to be. And I think, we have to be more clear of what we're asking for and, our expectations from each other. Anthony said, do you think it's the I don't need a man perception that keep men from helping women we are not connected to? I mean, I guess that could be some of it, but like as a woman, I think of certain things that come with my womanhood. You know what I mean? Like I think so shouldn't there be like some level of, that's a woman, reverence or respect for women that men should have as well? Like that's fine. I may not need you in my life on a personal level, but I don't think that should mean that you just don't care what happens to me. Like, again, that level of connection between us should be there and be apparent. Unfortunately, the issues between Black men and women are historical and systemic. We can change the narrative. Absolutely, we can, and that's what talking about it, is going to do, because we're putting our expectations of men out there, and hopefully they'll be able to return that. Is this for married women or single women? Or it's just for women. I mean, everybody knows a man, every man knows a woman. Yeah, it's just for women. I mean, hopefully in your personal life, if you're married, prayerfully your husband, you know, fills that gap for you. Like this is not necessarily our personal struggle within our lives, but we all have eyes and we all have ears and we see things and we hear things. And we definitely felt like this is something that should be talked about. Like we want to be more supportive as women to our Black men, to the men in our communities. And but on the same level, we also want the men in our communities, to feel like they have a responsibility to us as well.
I think one of the ways to change the narrative is by training young men, training our boys
Right.
to take on that role. And I don't know why I thought it was something that was just natural and that's what boys and men supposed to do. No,
Right.
I had to tell him, no, sweetie, you have to help. You see mommy struggling with the bags. Don't
Right.
just keep walking. Get the door. Come get the bag. Don't, you know what I'm saying? And it's just a matter of training. Because they're little boys, they're playing or whatever, but you have to constantly teach and train. Listen, you don't just walk ahead and see mommy with the bags and you don't go and help. You don't do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I had to constantly start telling him and using words like protect, using words like provide.
Right.
These are what you're expected to do. And we're trying to see where it's going.
But
But
that's good. I think what that's a key point, because we learn how to treat
mhm,
each other,
Right.
we by observation, by our environment. And I think we teach the young boys how to treat women, and we teach women, the young girls, how to carry themselves and present themselves.
mhm,
Right.
So I definitely think that's probably an opportunity that we probably, have to make sure that, we are collectively teaching, and, that we reinstill that village mentality, that just because it may not be my biological child, I can still say,
mhm,
okay, little Jojo, you got to hold the door for the young lady.
Right.
Okay, you got to make sure she sits down. If you're on a bus and a lady comes in, you need to get up and give her your seat.
right, right.
Yeah. And so, I think my question, my question is, we see that we've gotten away from some of that things. Like, I've been walking behind a grown man in his 40s. This joker will go through a door and won't even hold it. And I'll be like, I'll hold the door for an elderly person, that's coming behind me, just because, you know, it's a matter of just respect.
Respect.
And right. And to see a grown man, he'll just walk through the door like he don't even see you. Don't hold it. Mind you, I'm telling my 12-year-old,
Right.
AJ,
Mhm.
you have to hold the door for me and your sister. Get over
Mhm,
here and
right.
get the door. And I think that's a good point. The teaching, somewhere we stop teaching our children certain things. Like, I don't, do you think it's because, women have left the house and went to work?
Mhm.
Do you think that that's a factor? Moms aren't home like they used to be, a lot of times. Your mom was home, she was teaching, she was, now the whole independent, woman, career woman, the women aren't in the house anymore. Mothers aren't home teaching their kids. Do you think that's a factor?
I don't think that's a factor. I think that probably was a bigger contributor is probably the relationships that the adults have had, the personal relationships that shapes how they teach their kids,
Okay.
and how they teach, their what they teach about relationships. So if a parent hasn't had any positive relationship, a woman haven't had any positive relationship with men,
Right.
is that somehow transmitted, through unconsciously, maybe of course not on purpose, but sometimes we can speak and act out of our pain and our
Mhm.
experience, and the next thing you know, we've kind of replicated that pain on someone else, and they're operating out of your pain.
Right. I could say this: when me and Anthony weren't together, and it seemed like everything he did got on my last nerve. And then the kids are always, "Can I call daddy? Can we talk to daddy? Can we FaceTime daddy?" And I got to where, I just started calling him Mr. Wonderful. Like, because in my mind, I
Mhm.
wanted to call him so many other things. But, because of the kids and because I understood, what that would do to them, you can call Mr. Wonderful, sure. Tell Mr. Wonderful, whatever, just because I wanted to make sure I went above and beyond, like you said, not poisoning, their upbringing because I was angry about our interaction. So I think that, that does make a difference, what you're growing, what kind of environment you're growing your child in.
Mhm.
So, do you believe that if um, the male, the father figure, the father is not present, that that's affecting how boys are learning because they're not seeing it modeled. They're not seeing the protection modeled in the home as much. Just because, like, I mean, even when it comes to divorce or just an absentee father or whatever the case may be, if it's not modeled, the protection is not modeled, then maybe they're not learning how to protect, how to provide. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't think that's an automatic deterrent. I don't think that that automatically means that if the father's not there, the son won't learn. I think like in it, like what you mentioned, you showed your son, okay, this is what you do for mommy. This is how you protect, mommy. So I believe that, there's still ways for the message to, to come across.
Right.
And I think in some cases, I've seen where the son of, a single mother, um, is way more protective,
Right.
and even because of seeing the struggle, and there's a sensitivity to the mother because of, whatever the reason is for the absenteeism. Um, so I don't think that's an automatic, he's not going to get it. It could be just the opposite.
How do you think, or do you think that music or the lyric or how women are portrayed in music, do you think that has any bearing on, how men are currently treating women, based on things they see?
It definitely plays a factor. As I say, the ears are one of the gates, that we have. And when you constantly bombard your subconscious mind with negative images and thoughts, and narratives towards, men and women, it will become a part of your mindset, especially when you're, at an impressionable age.
Right.
And I think that could, if you're not able to distinguish between the fact that this is music and this is, my guiding post of life.
He said the music is bad, but women often support it.
Mhm.
I agree. Well, that does bring up my another point that I had as well too. Like I totally agree with you. Yeah, we aren't protected. Some part of it is men, but like sister to sister interaction. Woman to woman interaction. I've seen. We all know somebody that got a baby mama, and he got a baby mama, and now he with somebody else. That those two women will like destroy each other, over some joker in the middle. Like I'm just saying, they will rip each other to shreds. So like women, I feel like, like I said, we're supposed to be connected. We're all the same color. You should be my sister. There should be something about you that I can celebrate. Even if, maybe we'll never go to dinner. Maybe we'll never, go out to lunch or go shopping. But I feel like there should always be something about another woman, that I can celebrate. Even if it's nothing more than, oh, her shoes was cute. Like it, because sometimes you meet people, you're like, not really my type of person. But hey, I wish her the best. Like it doesn't have to be,
Mhm.
so. But even as women, like one woman will tear another woman to shreds and feel no kind of way about it.
Yeah.
Like not even somebody that's done you wrong, just somebody you see, you just go for broke.
Mhm.
What do you think that, like when men see that, do you think that also makes them feel like y'all don't even protect each other? Why should we? Do you think that comes into play?
Our interpersonal relationships definitely, um, could impact, um, how we're perceived in society,
Right.
um, and how, we things play out. And I think in the age of social media, I think things are just heightened and much more, in your face, and just everywhere. And I think overall, we have a duty and an obligation to carry ourselves in an honorable way that commands the respect of other people, both male and female.
Right.
I think when we show support of each other, we build a stronger bond, and it makes our voice even that much louder.
Right.
But when I'm pitting against you just because you walk in a room, that's a little problematic.
Right. Trina, you like you want to say something?
It's just like, we have so much in common as women. It's just like there's always a way for you to find a common ground with another woman. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's just like, we're always trying to find a difference or hair or body type or something when we have so much in common. And it's just like, sometimes I'm on social media and I'm just rolling my eyes the whole time, like, come on. I just feel like, come on. It's too much. It's too much. And it's just we got to do better. We got to do better.
Right. And it definitely has to, it has to start somewhere. Kind of
Mhm.
like you got to start with you. You have to, like, 'cause sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I look at stuff and I be like, now why, girl, why did you do that? Why? That's so backwards. And I had to remind myself, you know what? It's fine. Her shoes was cute. Okay, she ratchet. Whatever. I have to consciously remind myself to look for something, good. Why is it so hard to focus on the similarities? That's a good question. Um, I think a lot of times people don't even really know who they are.
That's
Like,
so.
like their identity is so wrapped up in
Yeah.
so many other things. Like it's hard for me, to see you if I can barely look myself and see,
Absolutely.
see myself.
Right.
So,
And then I think when you deal with insecurities,
Hmm.
it's hard for me to compliment somebody else without me, just because I say, "Oh, your hair is pretty," doesn't mean that mine is ugly. Or
right,
just because I say that you have a beautiful home, it doesn't mean that mine is a doghouse.
right,
And I think, as we are, built, and again, it kind of goes back to teaching. I have two daughters, and that's what I try to teach them. Just because there's another pretty girl in the room doesn't
right,
mean that you're not pretty. You can tell
yeah,
her, "Oh, I like your hair. I like your
right,
shoes." You don't have to roll your eyes and look at her up and down, because, like you said, ultimately, we're sisters. That's just, you may
Right.
not know her,
right,
but you're connected. You're
Yeah.
connected, and the more you build her up, the stronger you become. But we
right.
don't see it like that, because we deal with our own insecurities.
Right. Right.
And it's rough on little girls. My daughter, she's 10. She's about to be 11. And she go to school, and I do her hair every week. Sometimes if I'm feeling special, I might do it twice a week just because that's my thing. She'll go to school, and I done her hair, and some little girl will tell her, "Oh, I don't like that," and
Mhm.
she'll come home and she feeling
Yeah.
all kinds of ways. And so many times I have to tell her, like, sweetie, everybody's not going to like you or your stuff or whatever. And it's okay.
Mhm.
Like, it's okay for you to like you. You don't need everybody to like you.
Right.
Right. There's enough for everybody. You need to like you. And,
Mhm.
and it's hard telling her that at 10, because I be wanting to think I'll come pluck the little girl in the forehead, you know, because she's so sensitive and stuff hurts
Yeah.
her. But like I'm thinking, like, what are people teaching their kids? Like you got a 10-year-old that you teaching to be all vile and
Yeah.
ugly. Like at 10,
But
you
Sam,
messing
these are the same people who are on your social media commenting
up, right, the mamas,
when
right?
they can't just look and keep scrolling. You don't agree, you don't
Right.
like it, just keep on scrolling. It's
Yeah.
okay. You don't have to stop, comment, say something rude.
Hmm.
Just okay. Note to self: I won't make my hair like that because I don't like that. You
Right.
scroll. Like,
But you're right. I remember back in the day, my mom used to say, if you follow, if she see this, she gonna kill me. She used to say, if you follow a little stupid kid home, some stupid adult go open the door. And I think about, how we
Yeah.
see kids in the street acting a fool. And
They got it
I
from
think about
somewhere.
it sometimes with kids. Them same little vile little girls. Probably if you went to their house, their mama, like you said, just as vile
Hmm.
as the daughter is. Facts, and we have to understand we are fearfully, wonderfully made, unique, one of one who's never existed. Right, like but it's hard. I think between social media and this, everything is at your fingertips.
Hmm.
You don't have to think twice. You
Yeah.
can just pick it up and go to typing
Find it.
like a fool. You don't have to consider anybody's feelings.
Right.
You just sit, and then you feel like you've done something so great. We have to be mindful, especially when you have children, because they are watching and listening
Everything.
to everything.
Everything.
Oh, yeah, that just you know, back in the day before she found Jesus, my mom had all sorts of, it was before Jesus, before Jesus. If she see this, I'm gonna get a phone call. But I love you, mom. But yeah, like, but I mean, it's sad to say kids pick that stuff up from home. Just how they treat other people. If everybody in their house is vile and mean, and they always screaming at each other, that's what you get from the kid. Like it starts at home. We have to raise up a better generation.
Hmm.
Like I feel like it's up to us. You have to raise, the kind of individuals that you want to encounter, because it's it's really rough. What did he say? Oh yeah. So women to women. We talked about the males and after protecting us. Um, I see a lot of, and I guess it kind of goes back to upbringing. I see a lot of kids. I saw a video on Facebook a while ago. It was this teenage girl. She knocked on somebody's door, and whoever the girl she was looking for wasn't home, but she was like a teenager. So the girl's mother answered the door. She was of a different nationality. She wasn't black or Caucasian. She was something in the middle, mixed or something. And I guess she was mad at the girl, so she slapped the mother. Yes, she was a teenage girl. She smacked this lady maybe about 3 times. She smacked it, and right, and she had her friend or somebody with her videotape it, and she smacked the lady, and she turned around to the camera, and she's like, "Yeah, I told you, something, something." And she turned around and smacked the lady again. She smacked the lady a good 3 times before the lady, made it back into her apartment. But this was a teenage girl. Hey Terry, smacking a grown person. Like, and I think about like the kids, like, teenagers don't have any respect anymore. Like if you were walking down the street and you said something you shouldn't and you saw an adult, it was, oh, I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Right. Like
Hmm.
I go places now with my kids, take the kids somewhere. We went to paintballing. There was some teenage boys in there. This little joker was cussing like he didn't have no good sense. And then AJ asked him something, and he said just the cussing. And I didn't know if I really wanted to smack AJ in the head for even talking to him, or smack the little boy in the head for answering that way. But he said, I'm not that safe. He but the boy just cussed or whatever. He didn't have no thought. Like there were other adults around, wasn't just me. There were other people, and he was just cussing. No respect. No respect. None whatsoever. Just that.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I'm just stuck on the fact that the lady got smacked 3 times. She didn't
He
get
did.
one
I mean,
lick.
you could tell the lady she
She was
she
shocked.
had like a heavy kind of accent. She may have been like Middle Eastern somewhere. You know, I feel like she kind of took advantage of the situation because we all know you're not really gonna knock on no mother's door that kind of look like me and smack her 3 times and walk away. Not as no teenager, but she did. She hit that lady. She hit her 3 times, and she was talking to the camera. I mean, this was like a whole show for her. She was like, "Yeah, I told you," and the lady was like, "What are you doing? Don't do that." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, smack her back. Or like I'm thinking, go in the house, something like she. I think she's kind of like deer the headlights, but that hurt my heart so bad. Like,
it,
and then
it
you look. Hmm?
no, go
What
ahead.
you say? And you look in the comments and you see other teenagers like, ha ha, somebody tell her she smacked her mama, and it was like funny. And these are teenagers. He said, "Turn the other cheek." Out. Got
It make you fearful of when these young people grow up, and what are they going to pass on to their children
right.
if the behavior is not interrupted and corrected.
And that's the interrupted and corrected part. Like that, when you see like kids now, you see kids fighting in the street, and there's adults out there with cameras. Like
Right.
where is the correction gonna come from? Like
Mhm.
if we let's just say we got men that don't see the value in protecting women. We got women that are okay with tearing and ripping other women to shreds. Who's gonna correct the kids?
Mm.
Yeah.
$1 million question.
Yeah, it's like we on the Titanic and it's going down fast.
Right.
I wholeheartedly feel like keep thinking being saved is sweet. You know what? I feel like we have to, you know, use our voices to stand up more in our
Mhm.
communities. We have to, yes, I teach my kids and whatever. On my block it's not a lot of kids, but there's some kids from down the street and they come down and when they get down here, I be like, look, nope, we don't talk like that over here.
Mhm.
We don't use those words over here. We don't do that over here. Like, we have to be willing to step outside of in my 4 walls. I think we've gotten so used to our 4 walls and we don't focus on our communities, but we have to live in this community. The same little kid that you see cussing at somebody else is only a matter of time for you walking by and he cussing at you. Like, these are our communities. Like, what happened to the village? Like, it
Yeah.
takes the village. The villages have dissipated. The villages are not active. We have to get back to um, being voices in our community for what's right,
Right.
for the right thing to do. Maybe not the popular thing to do, but for what's right. Like we have to stand up, or I feel
Mhm.
like it's just going to continue
Mhm.
to decline.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I kind of grew up in an era where it was still a little bit of that going on. Our neighbor would pick us up from school. Who lived a couple doors up the street, and the house rules were the same. It
Right,
was Mr. Such and such, Mrs. Such and such. You don't walk
right,
in people's kitchen. You don't sit there and beg for. You
right,
respect the household just like you would your own. And if, my parents found out that it was anything else,
You was in
it would
trouble.
be, it would be something. And, like now, I don't think we, are that willing to stretch out, like you said, outside of our four walls to get to know. I mean, and it's, several reasons, there's fear of, I don't know who these people are, but I think understanding that we're stronger as a community than we are as
Right.
individuals. And with everything specifically that the Black race has to fight against,
Right.
we can't do it by ourselves. We need the support of each other.
And we can't afford to keep fighting each other.
Yeah.
It's getting us nowhere.
Right.
Dwayne said, "Do y'all even know your neighbors?" Most don't. Like I said, the neighbors have children. There's another family on the block. They have kids. I know her, because she has kids, and we interact. And I know maybe like two of my other neighbors, but on our block, it's a lot of older people. I may wave, but
Yeah.
I don't really, I don't really know them. But if there were more kids on my block, yes, I absolutely would know the parents, because I need to know who my kids are playing with. I need to know if something happened, who your mama is,
Mhm.
for real. Like, I need to know who my kids are interacting with. So yeah,
Mhm.
if there were other kids on the block, um, I would definitely probably know more of my neighbors.
Mhm.
For the most part, I know the ones that have kids.
I know a good number of my neighbors. Um, and I know Sam is like, how? Because I don't talk to nobody.
Yeah, I
But
wasn't gonna put your business in the
like
street like that.
how you and mostly it's because I knew one neighbor, again with the kids thing,
Right,
and she's kind of like the community neighbor. You know that
right,
neighbor, she's the mayor of the block.
right.
So once I got to know her, then she told me about all the other neighbors, and then I was able to say hi to them because I met the mayor of our block.
Right.
But I have to tell you, it was such a good thing that she's on our block, because when now if something happens, it's just like we know who's coming and going, and my daughter's like, how do
Right.
you know all these people? I'm like, I watch. Even before I met her, I knew who was coming out of each and every house, because I'm
Right.
through the blinds, I'm looking, because I just want to know who's coming and going around
Right.
me. But
Right.
now I can, hey, how you doing? But if something goes wrong,
Exactly.
I can say, excuse me, somebody had pulled in your, and I don't.
Right. It's another layer of protection.
Right.
Right.
And we're able to look out for each other because we kind of know what the norm is on the
Right.
block, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I wind up talking to my one neighbor. There was somebody's little raggedy teenager that went around
Not
breaking
rap.
into the car.
Mm.
So they well, he didn't really break into my car in his defense, because I didn't lock my door and I left my pocketbook on the seat. Yes, I know, I'm
Mm.
2-0. Anyway, he went right on in there and helped himself to my bag, and then come to find out, he had broken into their car some days before and liberated some of their stuff. And I was like, that's what made me realize, like, you kind of have to talk to people, because then he had broken into the car. If I'd have known that, I might have been a little more careful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is, like you said, that extra layer you want when the cops come. It is that extra layer of protection. So now when something happens, on the block, everybody's kind of like, hey, such and such happened, or
Yeah.
if something happened, right? That extra layer of protection is really important when you live somewhere, to kind of know what's going on in your community. You don't want to be the last one, to know something. So it's not where you live. But yeah, I think I think we have, as a community, and I mean as a community of African Americans, Black people, however you want to, name yourself. I think we have lots of steps to go. Um, but if everybody takes a step, if everybody takes a step, in a direction of somebody, then we'll all be making movements.
Right.
We'll all be moving forward. Like everybody has to do their part. We're never gonna get out of this separately. Like, oh, me and my house, trust me, you and your house is never gonna get out of this on your own. It's gonna take all of us to pull together,
Mhm.
and keep our children safe. It's gonna
Right.
take all of us to pull together, and make sure that our husbands and our brothers and our uncles and things are safe. We're gonna have to pull together as a community. So that's the point of some of this conversation. If you watched, if you listened, if you commented, think about what steps you're taking. Think about what you're doing in your community. Think about how you're interacting with the people that look like you. And if it's bad, tomorrow's another day. Change it. It could be as simple as just saying hi to somebody. It doesn't have to be a monumental step, but we all have to do better for our communities, for our children, and definitely for our future, because our families are being destroyed. Our men are falling by the wayside. A bucket of free,
Child.
as a whole, as a people, we've lost a lot, and we're still losing. Like, so we have to figure out how to pull together, how to do better, and how to be better. So thank you guys tonight for watching us. What he said? All right, I'm gonna block you too, Anthony Walker. Um, Thank you guys for watching us tonight. Thank you for your support. Of course, we will be back. Hold on, let me get this right. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8:30 with another topic. Not sure what that'll be yet. Ladies, thank you. Of course, don't run away. And we'll see you again next week.